everyone, so today we're doing a massive Christmas cooking and baking day. So on the menu for today we are going to be making a tiramisu. Nick has been nagging for like this whole year to make a tiramisu. I kept saying it's like a Christmas kind of Italian dessert. Well, it is an Italian dessert that they'd like to enjoy at Christmas time, so I thought wait till Christmas period, and here we are. So we're making a tiramisu. I just don't really have an interest in it just because I don't like the soggy texture of the lady fingers, but I haven't tried it in years, so who knows, I might like it. The next thing on our list will be ham, our Christmas baked ham. I do one every year just for Nick and I. This year, because we are watching what we eat, normally we'll just keep cutting into it and in a few days. And I also do buy a small ham. I do try to find a smaller ham. So in saying that, I do have a 5 kilo ham behind me, but that is one of the smaller ones that I could have found. There's ones that's twice that size. But because this year we're on a diet with portion controls, yada yada yada, I'm going to make a sugar-free ham. You don't need to do a sugar-free version. Either way, I will show you how I do it. And you can either do it sugar-free or do it just normal. And the reason why I'm decided to do sugar-free ham, obviously there's sugar in the tiramisu and sugar in the next thing I'm going to be making. But it's just because we're going to be repurposing some of that ham, not only just to snack on throughout the days, but also for some dinner meals as well. The next thing we're going to be making is some cinnamon swirl bread. I made this last month. It was beautiful. I was going to film it. I didn't film it. I just made it and it was really, really good. And I definitely did want to share that recipe. So we just have to make another one and I'm completely okay with that. And then last thing we're going to get done today, which has nothing to do with Christmas, is just Nick and I were experimenting in the kitchen together a few nights ago, and we made some protein balls that we do like to have one before and after the gym most nights, and it's like our sweet treat at the end of the day and kind of like a dessert in a way, so it works out for the sweet cravings as well. So yeah, it has nothing to do with Christmas, just we ran out, so we need to make a fresh batch, so I will just be doing that, as well as I want to get dinner done. And again, dinner is not a Christmas recipe. I'm just making an Asian style chopped salad with the rice noodles and wombok and all of that. Alrighty, so as you can see, I already got some stuff organized. The first thing we're going to work on is a tiramisu, so that can then go into the fridge. I got egg whites on my bench. Whoopsies. Now, in the recipe that I had written down, like I said, I have not made this before. So I would change the steps around. It seems to be, with the small amount of research I had done, it's okay if you have egg whites in your yolks, but you cannot have any yolks in your egg whites. So I written it down that you have to beat these, clean the whisks, and then beat this. I'm just going to do the egg whites first and then beat that so I don't have to wash in between, like it came from the same egg. The eggs are at room temperature. I don't think I wrote that on the original recipe. So we're just going to beat egg whites. This is 3 egg whites, and we're going to beat that kind of halfway point to get stiff peaks. Alright, so our eggs, as you can see, the volume amount looks a lot more fuller and they're nice and fluffy and frothy. I'm just going to add 3 tablespoons of sugar. This is just regular white sugar. You can use caster sugar. I'm not overly too fussed with the type of sugar I use. And we're just going to keep beating this until it does reach that nice, glossy, thick foam, stiff peaks. You can see the nice peaks on the bottom of the beaters. And everything is holding its shape. So that is exactly how we want it. I'm not going to worry about washing these beaters, like I said, because it should be okay, hopefully, to do it this way. Now with the egg yolks, so it was 3 egg whites, 4 egg yolks. The other egg white I just got in the fridge, and I'm just going to add that to another egg tomorrow morning for breakfast, and I can just scramble that up together so it doesn't get wasted. So I'm adding another 3, woo! I'm adding another 3 tablespoons in with my egg yolks, but we can add it straight from the start. That's perfectly fine, and we're just going to whip this until it's pale and fluffy. Alright, so I used the wrong term, not pale and fluffy, pale and thick. So as you can see, the consistency is quite thick. It's still kind of runny. I think this is okay. This was going for about 5 minutes, and the last couple of minutes I didn't really see much of a change, so we're just going to call it there. I am now washing my beaters because the next thing I want to whip up is our cream. Traditionally it is mascarpone. We can't buy mascarpone in Australia, at least I don't know where to find it. So I'm just going to be doing freshly whipped cream instead. I've now later realised that I could have made mascarpone. You need cream and lemon juice to make mascarpone, but it does take like a day or two to make, and I don't have a day or two to make it before right now, so I'm just going to go with my original idea of whipping some fresh whipped cream. So in our clean bowl, a new clean bowl for our cream, I'm going to add 500 mils. This is a 600 ml container, so we want most of it. You would prefer to use icing sugar. I don't have any icing sugar. So again, we're going to add in just 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I know you can also make icing sugar, which I am planning to do sometime soon. So that's going to be interesting. And about a teaspoon of vanilla. And then we're just going to beat this until it's nice and whipped. And obviously with whipped cream, well, I wouldn't say obviously in case you haven't made your own whipped cream before, but you don't want to overbeat it. As soon as it starts to look nice and whip, then stop. Otherwise, if you go too far, you can curdle it. Alright, so with the whipped cream, as you can see, it's all holding its shape. I'm not going to tip it over like the egg whites though. But as soon as you start seeing that thick ribbons, then you know it's good. We don't need the bitters no more, so these are going to get washed up again. Also, if you were just using mascarpone, you wouldn't have to add in the extra sugar, just the mascarpone and some vanilla, and just give that a mix. You don't even really need to beat it. And that's all you'll do until you get to this step. I just remembered I got these cute little Christmas baking utensils, so we're going to be using a silicone spatula, so I'm going to use my Christmas themed one. Alright, so now with the whipped cream, I'm just going to transfer all of these egg yolks that we prepared into the bowl with the whipped cream. And then you just want to kind of fold and mix. It doesn't necessarily have to be a straight up fold, but you do want to get it all nice and incorporated. So now you can see that's nice, luscious and smooth. It does look like there's a couple of lumps. That's just some air bubbles. That's perfectly fine and okay. So I'm going to just wipe off my spatula. And then we want to add in the egg whites, but we only want to add in about 1/3 of the mixture at a time. And with the egg whites, you do want to try and give it more of a fold than an actual mix, but just go nice and slow and gentle. And once it's all incorporated, we'll add another 1/3 of egg whites, do the same process, and then add in the remaining egg whites. Alright, so now with this mixture, it's all of the egg whites are now in here. And as you can see, it's just so nice and thick and luscious and airy and oof, goodness. Before I go any further though, I'm just going to soak my bowls because I need this for other recipes. So yeah, I'm just going to give them a quick rinse and a soak. Alright, so now for some fun stuff. I got a cup of coffee here, brewed coffee. So I just done a heaped teaspoon because you do want it kind of strong. I done a heaped teaspoon of just instant coffee with 1 cup of hot water. And then I popped that in the fridge. It should be at least room temperature to cool. It's, well, more room temperature than anything. We also want some coffee liqueur. I got Tia Maria, so that's what I'm using. I know Kahlua is very popular. So to our 1 cup of coffee, we want to add about 4 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go, just in case. Merry Christmas. As well to this, we want some almond extract. If you don't have almond extract or you can't find it, it's perfectly fine without it. But you do want just a little bit. So I'm going to do about 1/2 teaspoon. Because it is very strong stuff. That's going to give it a delicious flavour. And just using my fork just to give it a quick mix around. And the last component we will need is some chocolate as well as some chocolate powder. So I do have some chocolate powder or cacao powder, but that's fine, it just comes out of the box. I do need to prepare my actual chocolate. So we got dark chocolate. Even if you don't like dark chocolate, you definitely do want to use dark chocolate just because of how creaminess this filling is. And sweet. So the dark chocolate is just really good to just kind of break it up, and it just complements each other perfectly. So with the dark chocolate, you want about 1/2 cup of grated chocolate. And I should have put this in the fridge. It's room temperature. I can already feel it melting in my fingers. Okay, I 100%, well, that's more than I thought I grated. I 100% should have put this in the freezer, the block, but that's okay. So at least the off bits, I got a nice treat, which is always a plus, making things from scratch. I also forgot to show that this is the lady fingers that we have. These are proper ones imported from Italy, so that's really cool that I can manage to find these. I'm just going to take these out of the packaging just onto the bench here, just so it's easier for me to work with. Oh, and I tipped in sugar, that's fine. Alright, so what we're going to do is just quickly soak it in. It will only take a few seconds, drip off the excess and lay it down. Dip it in, turn it around, let the excess drip off, because they're going to get nice and soft. Just sit in. And we want to make this all nice and full and compacted. A whole layer is like a lasagna, a dessert lasagna. Alright, so I got it all laid down here. As you can see, I just needed to snap that little piece, but that's perfectly fine. I really hope they are soaked enough. I'm kind of self-doubting myself. But this filling as well is going to make it like moist and wet as well. But you just want a thick layer, kind of the same thickness of the fingers is what I'm kind of aiming for. Layer on top of the fingers, and you don't want to obviously squish it down too much, or you are going to make it more deflated. You want it nice and airy still. Alright, so we got the layer there. So now we want to add in our nice chocolate. So you want about half a cup. This is just melting in my fingers. Melting in my fingers and making a mess, but that's okay. Alright, and now we just want to repeat the process. So again, we get the finger, dip it, shake off any of the excess, and just lay it on top. And you want to keep going until you create a full layer. And also with this layer as well, you can gently press it on top of the cream. Just gently. Alright, it is now looking really, really good. So we want to top it up with this mixture just to the top of the dish. Which I do think we got enough. We might have a little bit extra, but that's fine. I think next time I make this pan is definitely a bit too small, because we do have a couple of fingers left over. And we will have some mixture left over. But, I mean, this is plenty, since I don't know if I'm going to like it. I really hope I do. It looks and smells really yummy. Alright, that is looking wonderful. Now all we got to do is just dust it with some cocoa powder on top. And we're not going to need too much, just about a tablespoon. And this cocoa powder might dissolve into this top layer a little bit while it does chill. So you can either just serve it, like put the cocoa just before it serves, or you can just top up with some more fresh cocoa, or you can just leave it. I'm just going to run my finger along the edge just so the dish looks nice and clean. And there we go. So this is the first dish done. I'm just going to cover it with some plastic, pop it in the fridge for a minimum of 8 hours. And then I'm going to clean up my mess because there's a lot of mess. Alright, so now we are going on to the ham. I got my tiramisu in the fridge. The oven is on at 170 degrees Celsius. I got my ham here. So I prefer to use the piece that has the bone sticking out. Other people like to use the other half of the leg, or the whole entire leg. I don't like the other half. I feel like, I don't know. I just prefer this part. And you can see the bone there. It's not that big of a bone, which is great. It obviously does get thicker up here, but it just looks so good. So there is a layer of skin. We're going to open up this packet. To prepare myself as well, I just got a disposable tray and just another cookie sheet. I'm using this cookie sheet or this baking tray underneath because this ham is going to be so heavy, this will not support it. These are so flimsy. And also the ham will be over the edge too, so if any other drippings come off of what's hanging off, then the sheet can catch that, so it saves mess from my oven. And we just want to prep the ham before we start on the glaze. I'm also going to get paper towel ready beside me to soak up any juices. Because I don't know, we might cut this open and it might be fine, it might be a lot of juices. But either way, we do want to remove the skin and get it all dried. So just getting myself prepared. Ooh, there we go. So we are very good with juices, which is fabulous. I am going to take one of these things because there's lots of moisture, just to dry off the skin, just so it's not so slippery for when I handle it. You want to make sure to see all of these little pieces. So this clogged up moisture from there, you just saw it kind of spurse out. So now I'm going to use this paper towel and just shove that in there as well for a little bit, so when it does come out, that paper towel can help get some of that moisture. You can see this knuckle cut, lots of moisture. I keep these two there for emergency backups. I do have my roll nearby though, and same thing, just the skin just generally is a bit slippery, and well, not slippery, but like it could be slippery. So just gonna dry that up just a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect because the skin's coming off. See how this is going. So that's just the bone marrow. That's perfectly fine. And this is overall really, really good. So I'll remove this plastic. And now what we want to do is remove this skin, but not so much the fat. If the fat is really, really thick, then I will trim the fat a bit, but otherwise, yeah, we just want the skin to go. So if you're not too sure, just cut a little bit. You can see there's fat on this side, fat there. So you could kind of go a little bit skinnier. And just kind of just do little sharp, little kind of zigzag back and forth motions with pulling it outwards. And it kind of just does fall off anyway. So again, just kind of slice it back and forth. Oh, it's kind of lifted here. Back and forth, and it's very nice and easy and quick. Alright, so on the back side it was pretty lean. The front side does have some nice and fat, so you want to make sure to have the fat side facing up in the pan, because then all the fat will caramelize and crystallize, and when it renders as well, it will kind of make its own dripping around and underneath of the ham. So you can do it just like this. People do score it into rings. I like the crisscross diamond shape, so I'm just going to go down and score. And also with the crisscrosses, you can definitely, why did I start in the middle? I should have started at one side, but that's fine. You can definitely shove it with clothes. That's what I normally do, but I'm not going to do it this year. So I punch forward, and now I'm just going to go on a diagonal to make it the diamond shape. You very much could stuff it with cloves, but like I said, that's not what I want to do. So that is fine. So now, because this is a wooden chopboard, I'm just going to clean it off. Didn't end up using this paper towel, but that's fine. I can use that for cleanup. Alright, so this is just a nice classic maple mustard kind of glaze. We want to start off with about 1 cup of freshly squeezed orange juice. So I do have a lemon here. I did buy 2, just in case one isn't enough, but I'm just going to cut 1 in half first and see how much juice we can get. Yeah, I would say that's probably half a cup, maybe a little bit above. So I'm going to now juice up this second orange, and that should give us at least that 1 cup that we're wanting. Alright, so that's looking much better. And like I said, it's just going to be a nice classic maple mustard glaze, so you definitely want to use some maple syrup. I am having it as a no added sugar or a sugar-free, well, it won't be sugar-free because there's obviously natural sugars in the orange juice. So yeah, a no added sugar marinade. So we want a cup, so I'll use the rest of here. Again, if you're using regular maple syrup, it would be a cup worth as well. Right, Alright, so that's probably plenty. Now the next ingredient is 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. That one was kind of heaped, so I'll do maybe just a little bit less for my second tablespoon. Next ingredient is some Chinese 5 spice. So what Chinese 5 spice includes is cinnamon, star anise, fennel, cloves, and black pepper. So they're the 5 spices in there. And we want to just add in about a teaspoon worth. It smells absolutely wonderful. Along with an extra teaspoon of cinnamon. And for our marinade, that is everything. So now we're going to take this over onto the stove and mix it on a medium heat until it gets nice and simmery. Alright, so we got the marinade simmering for a couple of minutes. Nick came along and fixed the problem. So he put some foil in a bowl to lift this up so this is nice and level. And so this isn't sitting on the tray, which makes sense. So I'm glad he did do that. And now with the first coat, we do want this kind of thick with the marinade. I'm just gonna brush it all on. And then when this goes into the oven, every 30 minutes we will brush on more marinade. And if brushing this on is telling me anything, is that this pan underneath is not big enough, but this is the biggest one I got. So just gonna have to do. And we also want to make sure to brush the front of our ham as well. Alright, so I think that is plenty for now. So now that's going to go into the oven at 170 degrees Celsius fan force, and we're going to pop the timer on for 30 minutes. The total cooking time we want to cook it for is about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, depending on the size and how brown and caramelized you would like it. But yeah, every half an hour we'll just come along and baste it. When we think it's going to be the last basting, we'll just tip the rest of this marinade on top. Alright, so time for the oven. Alright, the ham is now in the oven, as you can see, maybe possibly right here on top of my dirty dishes on my sink is a oven tray, which is very hot. So remember to remove your oven tray, your top oven tray. It's on the bottom shelf, but obviously the shelf in between needs to come out. So remember that. I'm just now going to do a quick tidy up. I've been tidying as I go anyway, but now I'm just going to chuck on the dishwasher. And then while this is in the oven, we're going to start making the dough for the cinnamon bread. Alright, so we need 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter melted, as well as milk heated. Now I don't have a microwave, so I just got 1 cup of milk in a pan here. I'm just going to melt the butter and heat the milk at the same time. They can go in together because they're going to get mixed together anyway. That is fine. 4 tablespoons of butter. Now with Australian butter, we do have measurements. I think you can get measurements on your butter in some brands or something in America, but I don't think it's that common. But in Australia it happens to all of our butter, which is handy. So 4 tablespoons of butter. 1 tablespoon of butter weighs 14 grams. I'm going to round up to 15 grams. So 2 tablespoons will make it 30. So 4 makes it 60. So you can see the line here is 1 tablespoon. So we just want a little smidge across that line. And that's how much we want. So yeah, essentially about 60 grams of butter or 4 tablespoons. You can see the indent I made at the top here. We'll cut that down. And just so this melts a little quicker, because I only want my milk to be warm, I don't want it to be hot. And this butter just came from the fridge. I'll just cut it in little cubies. And we also want 1 egg with 2 extra egg yolks. So it looks like I'm going to have a couple more egg whites to go with my breakfast tomorrow. That is perfectly fine. So I'm going to pop this on a medium heat to start melting. And while this is on, we're going to separate the eggs. Alrighty, so my egg white from before, my cracked eggshells from before. This is empty carton. That's fine because then that can all go into compost together with the egg carton. So we want 1 whole egg plus 1 extra, no, yeah, 1 whole egg plus 2, oh my god, 2 egg yolks. Okay, so we got 1 egg yolk. Oh crap. It's alright, we can scoop him back up. and 1 whole egg, complete whole egg. So this bowl is the bowl that we are going to be using for our dough. This is going to get composted once I'm finished in the kitchen, because I don't know, we might need more eggs still. This can get wrapped again and popped back in the fridge for my breakfast tomorrow, so we're not wasting anything. Alright, apparently I wasn't filming. Oops, so what I done is took the eggs out of here, popped it in to this bowl, rinsed out this bowl. I just beated those eggs together as well. We got 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast and 2 tablespoons of sugar. The yeast I'm using is this instant dried yeast, so that is fine just like that. We now have our butter melted and our milk warm, so that's just gonna go tipped in like so. Give that just a quick little mix around. Now for this recipe, we don't need to wait for it to bloom, which is quite nice. We can just get it pretty much done. We want to add a pinch or about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now this bowl is quite warm, so I'm not going to add in my eggs. If you read my description, my method, I don't know, I'm changing it. It just doesn't sound right to add the eggs on hot mixture or a warm mixture. So if you did screenshot that recipe, I do apologize, but maybe just make a note to, I don't know, do it this way. This is my extremely full plain flour. We want 4 cups. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very gently fold this in like so. Tip in these eggs, because I just didn't want the eggs to be scrambled, but we obviously need the eggs to be incorporated. So this should be perfectly fine. And just using the spatula, just kind of get it all combined as well as I can. And then I can go in with my hands when I feel like I need to, and knead it by hand on the bench until it's all nice and combined and smooth. So generally when you're working with dough, it is about 10 minutes worth of kneading. You can definitely use a hand stand mixer if you like. I like to feel the consistencies and stuff like that with my hands, so that's what I'll be doing. Alright, and if it's too wet and too sticky, I will definitely add some more flour, but we'll just see how we go. I'm definitely going to need some flour. It's sticking to the bench, but I'm still trying to work it in a little bit before adding more flour. But if it does become too sticky or too unbearable, then we will add some flour, which actually even just now it's not as sticky, which is good. So you definitely do want to, even when doughs are sticky, just see how you go without dusting with flour. And we're just going to continue kneading this, like I said, until it's nice and smooth, so about 10 minutes. Alright, this is now a nice beautiful dough, nice and soft. I'm just going to put it in this bowl, and just using the same bowl is completely fine. Oh, I do not have much oil left, so I'm just going to put a little bit of oil on just so it doesn't stick. Alright, that's fine. So that's just got a very light coating of oil. So plastic. And now I'm going to set this aside and let it rise for 2 hours. Yum! Alright, with our ham, I'm going to gently, I don't know, I'm going to take the whole ham out, I think will be best. Now, I can't turn my tray out, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to baste it, and then I'm just going to turn the tray. And you can see these score lines opening up now, so it'll be really good just to get the marinade nice in there. Alright, so we'll close this up and we'll put the timer on for another half an hour. Alright, so I'm now going to be taking a break from baking because there's nothing much to do except for wait. Well, not so much baking, even the ham, just the Christmas stuff. So what I want to do is probably not add all that juice. So I got 1 kilo of chicken thighs, which again I'm just going to dump the whole bag in, and then I will drain out that excess juice, chicken juice. Alright, so with these chicken thighs, we're going to do about a teaspoon of pepper, teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, and a teaspoon of Chinese 5 spice. And just to help lubricate everything, just about a teaspoon or a tablespoon of oil. I ran out of my olive oil, so I just got canola oil. I'm just using that. It doesn't really matter what type of oil. Going in with my hands to get this all nice and mixed around. And I'm just going to be frying these chicken thighs on a medium heat until they're all cooked through. Alright, so this other big bowl is for scraps. I just got 3 cloves of garlic and maybe double the amount of ginger, just finely chopped. So once all of the chicken is cooked, I'll just fry this off for a minute or 2. And I got a mug here, so for the marinade, or the, well, not the marinade, but the sauce for the salad. For our sweetness, we're going to be using honey. You can just use sugar if you want, or you can do a bit of both, but again, we like a no added sugar is what we're trying to do. There's obviously natural sugars in honey, that's fine for our diet. So I just got a heaped tablespoon of that. I want about a heaped tablespoon of soy sauce, so maybe about a tablespoon or a half, and about a teaspoon of rice wine vinegar. So I'm just going to mix this all together and let the honey dissolve. And once we fry off the ginger and the garlic, we'll add that into here as well. But for now, just mix this up, get that honey dissolved, and set this off to the side. Alright, so while our chicken is still frying away, what I'm going to be working on is to finely chop up all of these ingredients. So I got a cucumber, a capsicum, coriander, mint, a red onion, and half of a wombok, which is a Chinese style cabbage. I still got some carrots here that needs to be washed and chopped. So we'll see how we get with that. We should add the carrots, but I'm just going to do these ingredients first, because if I don't end up getting to the carrots, that's fine. I can use these at a different time. They're all very nice and fresh. These are our homegrown carrots. Get this all chopped. I'm going to then pop it in my pot, because this is the biggest bowl that we own. Because yeah, I'm making a big batch of this salad, because I want it for dinner for Nick and I for tonight, tomorrow night, and the night after. So then I just don't have to worry about cooking. The degrees, the temperature is going to be hot. It is already hot today, and it's just going to get hotter. And I just don't want to worry about cooking. Alright, so as you can see, that's all nice, finely and chopped. I haven't mixed it out or anything yet. What I'm going to do is chuck the lid on, pop this in the fridge. The chicken should be cool enough. I'm going to chop up the chicken. And with the sauce, I forgot to mention, I added in a table of lime juice as well. The ham is on its last half an hour. The timer for the dough is about to go off. This is a wonderful dough. So actually, thinking about it now, because I want this counter space for the chicken, I will put the lid on, pop that in the fridge, just wrap up the chicken, pop that in the fridge, clean up my area, so then we can start working on the next stage for the bread. Alright, this is just a heads up. I have not made the prettiest ham this year, but that's okay. It will still be delicious. Oh. So this side is definitely the more ugliest side. It smells so good. But if I do turn around, on the top here, that's quite nice, I feel like. And yeah, it's just a bit more prettier on this angle. But yeah, so this is the ham complete. All we got to do now is just let it to cool, and then we get to try it, and that is done. Alrighty, so for the dough, we're going to make our cinnamon sugar filling. So we want a 1/4 cup of regular white sugar, or you can use caster sugar, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and about 3 tablespoons of cinnamon. And I'm just going to be taking a fork and just get that all nice and combined. Alright, so the lighting is going to be a pain to try and sort out because the sun's going in and out of clouds, but that's okay. So we got our dough, as you can see, has risen beautifully. I'm just going to take my dough scoop and scoop it upside down, and then straight away on my rolling pin, just gently roll it. I'm just lifting this up to see if I need to put flour, which I don't know. I'm not going to. It might have been better if I did, but I don't have it now. So let's hope it's okay. So the thickness is like a centimeter or two thick. You just kind of want it enough though, so when you do roll it, you will have a swirl effect. So I have 2 tablespoons of butter here. I'm just going to dab with my offset spatula. You can definitely use a butter knife, and as you can see, this butter is very soft and to room temperature. You can use a butter knife. It is just a little bit more easier with an offset spatula, but it's definitely doable without one of these. Put on this butter, and now with this cinnamon sugar mixture, we're just going to tip on the whole lot. And then just very gently with my hand, I'm just going to push it all off onto the sides just to get a nice even layer. So I just find this a quicker process rather than just grabbing pinches and just kind of sprinkle it all on. And once you've got it quite nice and even, I'm just going to gently tap it in to try and get it nice and moist with that butter. And that's just going to help, like I said, act like a glue so it kind of stays put. And now what we want to do is just grab it from the side that's closest to myself, just because it's going to be easiest to work with. We're just going to start rolling. And this is also the shorter edge, so the longer edge and shorter edge. So I purposely rolled it that way, just so it'll be easier to roll up. And you do want to try and make it kind of firm of a roll. So sometimes to help to make it kind of firm, you pick it up, you pull it to yourself slightly, and then you roll it up on itself. Alright. So now what we're going to do as well, as you can see just naturally on how it rolls like that, and it's all open, so where it is roughly, it's okay if it's not completely, but I'm just going to grab this and tuck it under and kind of pinch it around to still make the same uniform log. And I'll do the same on the other side. Now even pat it a bit like that, because I do think it's a bit too skinny and narrow. We want it more like a proper loaf of bread shape. So I'm just kind of shaping it. And how I'm going to get this ready is I'm just using my loaf pan, but I'm just getting some baking paper here just so I can use it to help lift it up and out. And I'll wrap this with plastic and let it rest for an additional half hour to an hour. Should be an hour. I'm probably realistically only going to give it a half an hour though. Alright, here's the horrible timing for the sun, but as you can see, it is risen up nice and perfect again. It's kind of odd shaped. In the middle it's a bit thinner. That's okay. I got the oven preheated at 180 degrees Celsius fan force, and now all I'm doing is I just got an egg here, and I'm just going to pop on an egg wash, and that's going to make the crust really nice and yummy. And then this is going to go into the oven for 45 to 55 minutes. Alright, so in the oven at 180 degrees for 45 to 55 minutes. Alright, so again, sorry about the lighting, I'm fighting with it at the moment, but we're starting the protein balls. The bread will be coming out of the oven in about 5 minutes. So I thought I'll just get this mixed up. So we got 1.5 cups of oats and a half a cup of almond meal. This is the protein powder I'm using. I know it's not like your proper protein powder, but I have quite a collection of this type of shakes from when I was actually having them as shakes, but I don't know, I think I'm shaking myself out. So I thought rather than it just being in the cupboard, we'll make something out of it. So we did play around and experiment and made some protein balls. Per serving, this is, for like one shake, it is 15 grams of protein. So we are doing 2 serves in our mixture. So we essentially get 30 grams of protein just from this powder. And it's 3 of these scoops for one serving. So I just added 6 scoops, which is probably about half a cup maybe in total, maybe a little bit less. And that's all of the dry ingredients. I'm just going to give this a mix. And I don't know if I mentioned, but the flavor protein powder I'm using is, all of my proteins is from that Fat Blaster brand. This one is going to be double choc mocha flavor. And that's a really fun thing about it too, is that you can switch up the flavors. The flavor we just done was the raspberry, and that was so good, so good. So now we're going to use a sweetener of maple syrup, so just about 1/4 cup of maple syrup, and again I'm using my sugar-free one, and a maximum of 1/4 cup of water. I'm just going to start with 1 tablespoon. Give this a mix, and we're just going to gradually add a tablespoon at a time and just keep giving it a mix, but you really would not want any more than 1/4 cup in total. Alright, so the consistency that we want is so it just holds its shape and you can't see any more powder. So to help roll these out, I do wet my fingers and my hands, and I just grab maybe about a heaped tablespoon worth of mixture, and I just roll that into a ball. And with your hands being wet, it just helps to smooth out the outside of the ball, plus it helps to prevent sticking. And you don't need this super wet because it does help having the wetness on your fingers. So just like that, and then we'll pop that in our tray. We'll just keep going till they're all made up into balls. And then when they're set in the fridge as well, the oats do soften a bit. Alright, so I got all of the protein balls rolled out. Again, I'm sorry about the lighting. I'm so excited to try this flavor. So I'm just going to set them in the fridge and let them set. I'll probably give them about an hour before I actually were to try one. Also, our bread has came out of the oven. Oh no. Alright. Feels like we need to run the butter knife down. Which, oh no, this is okay. Okay, so what I think has happened is it did crack open. I don't know if you can see that there. It did crack open when it was baking. So that's just the butter and the sugar's kind of oozed out. It's just kind of crystallized is what I'm looking for on the sides here. Okay, it should be nice and loose. There we go. Phew. So yeah, it did crack open there, but that's fine because when that dries, that will just be all fine and all good. Beautiful color. Yum. Smells incredible. And once this cools completely, I'll slice into it and we should have a lovely, wonderful swirl pattern of cinnamon. Ooh. Yum. Alright, we are so close to the finish line of being completed today. I did cook up too much money. Oh my god, I wish I cooked up too much money. I did cook up too much chicken compared to the salad, and I don't have any more salad stuff. So this will probably be plenty for us for tomorrow night and the night before. Not gonna lie, I went out and got Chinese takeaway for tonight because this just wasn't done in time. I was starving hungry. So what I've done is I chopped up the chicken a little bit more chunkier than the actual veggies. I haven't mixed this around yet, so I still gotta do that. But yeah, I chopped up the chicken, added it in here. Only half of the chicken that I cooked I chopped up. Once I finish eating my dinner, I will chop up the rest of the chicken I already got cooked, chuck it in a freezer bag, label it like it's chopped chicken for another salad. So then when I want to make another one of these salads, all I need to do is just get the fresh ingredients, chop the fresh ingredients, get that cooked chicken out of the freezer, and then that's all done. The only other ingredient that we are missing in here is the rice noodles. Now, because we're not going to be eating this till tomorrow, I will do the rice noodles tomorrow. So now just added in the sauce. I'm just going to give this a mix, and then this can just be all nice and just blend together nicely in the fridge overnight, and it's going to be really, really tasty for our dinner tomorrow. So it's like 95% complete. I just need to add the rice noodles. But yeah, like I said, I'll just do that tomorrow. It would have been fine for me to do now and still eat it again tomorrow. It's just I can't be bothered anymore. Yum. Absolute wonderful. So this is 95% complete, but for tonight it's complete. Alright, and there is everything that we created together today. I'm so happy with the progress and everything that got done. I'm a little disheartened that I can't cut into the loaf and show you what it looks like because it is still too warm. But I will insert a photo. I will take a picture and I'll insert it here. The layers of this tiramisu. We're not going to eat this yet, but I just took the wrapper off just for a thumbnail. But look at the layers, like I'm very excited for that. Protein balls, again not Christmas Eve, but something we still got done today. The ham. I gotta show you something about the ham in just a minute, and it just looks like a pot, but that's obviously our salad. So not only did we do such a good progress in having dinner for tomorrow and the night after done, the ham done, we're gonna use ham as well. We're also going to use some ham for a meal for either a night or 2 nights after Christmas, but between now and then we're just gonna snap on it. But the kitchen is for the most part relatively pretty tidy. I wanted to show you something with the ham. So it looks all nice here. I did say to Nick, don't touch this side because this is the better looking side. We have been nibbling though. It is absolutely delicious. It's so good. It's so good. But that is all for today's video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Subscribe down below so you don't miss out on my future videos. I hope you guys all have a happy and safe and wonderful Christmas. And I think my next video after this will be my day in the life for Christmas. I definitely do want to record Christmas this year and just have that as memory and share the cooking and the baking on Christmas Day that I'm going to do to gift out to my family with you guys as well. So hope you have a great day on Christmas Day, and I'll see you guys just after Christmas. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.